Okay, this video shows you how I created this model of the St. Louis Arch. The first step, since the dimensions that I had, let me show you the site I was using. This site tells you right here the size, that it's 192 high and 192 across at the base on the outside, and then it gives you the size of the legs of the equilateral triangles that make up the base and the cross section at the top. So those are my assumptions for size. Hold on, my mouse is acting up. Okay, so I'm back to the model. So this is what the model looks like in the end. I'm going to give you the high level steps for this. So I went and changed my units because that's what the dimensions that I had were in. So if you go to document menu, workspace units, you can change this to meters right there because those are the dimensions. The first sketch just are the two triangles that make up the bottom. So there's the 16.5 equilateral triangle. You can set all three sides equal. Make sure that you put the middle of the triangle so that it's aligned with the center origin. It just makes reference points easier for when you're trying to draw the triangle at the top. So if you notice, I have a construction line that goes through the center, right at the midpoint of that back line. It's coincident here, and so on. And then this is the dimension. This is the half of the 192 that goes to the back. And then I created this construction line here so that I could mirror these three lines over to there. The mirror tool is just right here. Okay, so that's the first sketch. The next sketch, I'm going to just hit the rollback bar, so this is coming forward in time, is just on the plane that's perpendicular. So I drew the first one on the top plane, which was the base, and then I drew this one. Just make sure you're on the plane that is perpendicular to the line that connects your two bases, because then what the sketch is going to look like is, you can see here's my next triangle, equilateral, so all three sides are equal. I've got a center line coming from the origin. Let me zoom out a little bit. From the origin right up through to the midpoint of the back line. It's coincident at the front, so that sets your angle. And there's the 192, which is the dimension from the top to the bottom. And this is why I was saying make sure that your midpoint is aligned with the origin, because the midpoint here is aligned and the midpoint at the bottom is aligned. So if I give you more of a 3D view, you can see these lines are all connected. Otherwise, your arch would not be straight. It would be leaning in one direction. So those are the first two sketches. The third sketch contains the shape of the arch, which is right here. Somehow it actually doesn't look like my arch is centered. In fact, so actually, why don't I walk you through this step, because this is probably the hardest one. So I'm going to draw a sketch on this plane that is, it's really hard to see because my planes are so small, the front plane, I guess, in my situation. So basically, you just want the plane that you can see when you're looking at it from this point of view. And there is a video on my OnShape account or playlist in YouTube that goes over this, but basically you're going to want to grab the center point of this line. And you know it's the center point because that yellow dot is coming from the origin. And you're actually just going to put this up in space for now. Oh, I missed getting it aligned. We'll do that in a minute. If you saw, I just misclicked. But so now I'm going to actually draw three separate line segments here, and I will explain that in a moment. And I'm going to get that midpoint back there. Hit escape to get out of the line tool. So I don't think I can set, I can't make 2 points vertical in this program. So I'm going to draw a construction line. It just comes up from the center, goes to that point, and make that vertical. So therefore, you know that the arch is, the center of the arch is going to be over the center of the distance between the two bottoms. Okay, now this blue line that I just drew, as odd as it may seem, this is going to be a helper line to draw a parabola. Now, St. Louis arch is technically not a parabola. It's called an inverted catenary arch, but we're going to just call it a parabola for calling it close enough. All right, so I'm going to set these 3 lines equal. And you have to do this line to this line, then this line to that line. And I'm also going to say parallel, same thing, you got to click twice, this to that, and then this to that. And this is just so that you have 3 equal line segments. And now what you're going to do is come up here, no, not that one, and pick the Spline tool. So this is what's going to draw the parabola. I'm going to click over here and click on the base. And that's it. Now, if you look, I have a line moving around. Don't click right now. Come over here towards that point, and I'll double click. And so now it doesn't look like much happened, but I actually have a spline here. And their vertical or vertices, basically their control points, are here and here. And the point of doing that, this arch here, or this 3-pointed line segment, is so that I can drag this control point up and put it right in the middle there. And now I'm going to drag this point up. And I don't have a third line over here, a line that was sectioned into thirds, so I'm just going to come over here so that it snaps to that point. And I didn't click yet. I just hovered over it until the yellow showed up, and now I'm going to let go there. And so now I have a parabola. I should have, actually, I thought that I'd change those to construction lines. I'm going to select these 4 lines and turn them into construction lines. Okay. Now the only thing we have is that this arch, you can see, is not intersecting with the top of the triangle here, which would be a problem. So we're going to make this coincident. So I'm going to pick that point and the spline. And now the spline is intersecting at the midpoint of that triangle. And so that's the overall shape of our arch. So there are 3 sketches that we needed. The first is the 2 triangles. The next one is the triangle at the top. And the third is the arch, where only the arch is an actual line. Everything else is a construction line. And so now what you do, this is the easy part, you hit loft. And as long as your sketches are all set up right, this should work pretty quickly. So for this one, I'm going to pick this profile, because you want to pick them in order. Then I'm going to pick sketch 2. That's the top of the triangle. And then I'm going to pick this profile. And as you can see, it created a loft, but it's not following this parabola like we wanted. Oh, I'm going to have to go back and edit that sketch. Somehow I did not put this point on that line. So let me just, I'm going to say okay to that and edit this sketch. And actually, I'll use the midpoint. Okay, that's not doing what I was hoping. If I just say coincident. Maybe there's a problem with the shape of the parabola being, hold on a minute. Okay, sorry about that. The problem was that I had not projected or used this shape, so I'm going to come up here. Sorry, let me explain that. I clicked the use, which is like projecting geometry from another sketch onto our current sketch. And so now that midpoint is there. And now I can simply just say that those 2 points are coincident. So I'm going to click that midpoint. And now you can see our arch is on that triangular shape. So that will make our loft work a little better. Okay. So now I went back in and edited the loft. We've got these 3 sketches. If you remember the order, I went the outside triangle, the middle, the inside triangle, and now here's where you can pick the parabola. If you look right now, it's not looking, the loft did not create a parabola. So you click on what's called the path, and that forces the loft to follow a path. And it's not looking so good. If you look at that, so this is the number of cross sections that the loft creates. And so the more cross sections, the better. If you look, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that it's interpolating between. So basically the loft just creates like an interpolation between one sketch, the next to the next. So if we up this, it should look better. Yeah, you could even up it. Basically, you keep upping it, but at some point your computer's gonna maybe lock up because of the and it'll bog down when you're looking at the moving 3D views around and whatnot, and you won't get much better. So there you have it. That's how I created the St. Louis Arch. Hope that worked for you. If your loft was having problems, you're going to have to make sure your sketches didn't have any problems, just like I checked and found that one on sketch 3.